We are in exile. You know.
Hi, this is Mick Burgess, and I'm now joined backstage at the O2 Academy with Gavin Harrison from the Pineapple Thief, Porcupine Tree, and King Crimson.
Howdy!
Tonight, it's your first date of the UK tour. Are you looking forward to getting started on this tour?
Yeah, I mean, we've just had 10 days off between the European tour and this UK leg. Unfortunately, most of us have caught a really big cold.
Yeah.
So I've spent most of the 10 days in bed. But luckily, you know, sometimes that's what happens when you have a break.
Yeah. I mean, that was going to be one of the questions, if you spent that time preparing for the tour, but you spent it in bed.
But the whole time pushing antibiotics down my face.
A few glasses of Lemsip along the way, but everybody's fitting well now, though.
Yeah, we're getting back on our feet now.
Is this the first time you've played in Newcastle with Pineapple Thief? Because I know you've been here a couple of times with Porcupine Tree.
That's right. And maybe we've been here with King Crimson, I can't remember. This is the first time with Pineapple Thief.
Yeah.
I think I played this venue actually.
Yes.
With Porcupine Tree.
You did,
yeah,
yes,
right,
yeah.
okay.
So how did the European tour go? You know, you played pretty much the whole of the continent. So did those shows go well?
They went really well, better than expected actually. Quite a few shows sold out, and we played some new areas. We'd not been to Italy before. Previous tours had sort of centred around Germany and Holland and Paris and a little bit of Poland, but this time we went to Scandinavia and that went really well.
That was pretty cold as well.
It was cold.
Yeah.
Very cold.
So what sort of set list have you got lined up for these for this tour? Are you changing around from the European shows, or is it going to be
not? I mean, this is the second leg of the Dissolution tour, and because we're not playing any of the same places again, we're doing pretty much the same show, which is most of Dissolution, quite a lot of Your Wilderness, and a few surprise old ones.
So how many from the new album do you play then? Pretty much.
Oh, I think nearly all of them except two.
So how have they been going on with the fans? Because fans can sometimes, it takes them a while to assimilate new songs into the set, but sometimes it can be very receptive. Do you find they're pretty receptive?
They've been pretty receptive to Dissolution. You can usually tell when you play a song from Your Wilderness if they're more familiar with that.
Yeah.
So it's the same with any band. When you go out, you tour a new album, and the fans are a little bit, but the next time you go out, they really like the previous one.
That's right.
It seems to take a year or so.
Yeah, but it keeps you fresh as a musician, though, having new material to play. You don't want to play the same songs all the time.
No.
Joining you on the tour is Orc, featuring a couple of your bandmates, Colin from Porcupine Tree. How does it feel to catch up with? We just bumped into him outside, actually.
Yeah.
How does it feel to bump into Colin?
It's weird. I haven't been on tour with Colin for 9 years.
Yeah.
So it's odd.
Were you out together in Europe?
Yes.
So you got a good few road stories to tell each other. So you never stayed in touch really. You might have just sort of bumped into each other every now and then.
I haven't seen much of Colin. I've seen Steve and I've seen Richard occasionally. Actually, I live quite near Steve, so I've seen Steve more in the past years.
And also in Orc's fellow King Crimson bandmate Pat Mastelotto.
Yep.
And it's going to be a real treat for fans, particularly drum fans, tonight to see two King Crimson drummers on stage together. So we're expecting to have a lot of drum musos in Newcastle tonight.
Right, it could be.
So whose idea was it to put this package together?
That's Francesco, our agent, tour manager, because he looks after Orc as well. So he suggested that they did the opening act, and they're great.
It's great. Really excited for the show tonight, because you originally hooked up with Pineapple Thief for the Your Wilderness album. How did you first get involved with them?
They just asked me if I would. Bruce asked me if I would play on some of the songs, and I did know who they were, but I hadn't really listened to Pineapple Thief. They sent me. Bruce sent me a couple of demos, and I thought, wow, I really like this stuff. So it was quite easy to work on it, and Bruce said, do whatever you want. If you want to change the arrangement, play whatever you like, just surprise me, which is an unusual sort of request, because some singers already know exactly what they want the drummer to do. So it was nice. It was quite a collaboration, even though I was just being employed as a session drummer, and it went so well that me and Bruce wrote a couple of songs after Your Wilderness was finished. We wrote a couple of songs for no other reason than just to see what it was like to write songs together. Yeah. And those two songs did get included in Dissolution. I
could imagine, particularly in the sort of, you know, progressive rock field, a musician or a singer trying to tell the drummer the sort of drum patterns they want. It must be very. It's not like you Phil Rudd in AC/DC where you say, right, I want 4 beats from your bass drum, 1 beat on this snare. It must be very difficult to sort of convey those ideas to a drummer.
Oh, they try.
Yeah. So I think he's probably made the right decision, just saying, right, play what you feel is right.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, you give your personality to the project. If someone says, do whatever you think sounds right, then you get a lot of personality coming into it. If they've programmed something or written a drum part that they already want, well, it's not necessarily a drum part that I would have created. I still might like it, but it's not so much me anymore.
Yeah. So what point did you become a full member? Was it, you know, when it looked like you were successfully writing together, did you say, do you want to join the band now?
Yeah. Basically, when we started writing songs together after Your Wilderness, it sort of made no sense for me just to hang in the wings as a session drummer. It made more sense that we should be, you know, a partnership and work together, but therefore might as well join the band.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, talking of the lyrics, I mean, who was Bruce the lyric writer?
Oh, completely, yeah. I don't write lyrics.
He comes up with the ideas, or does he run ideas past you on lyrical themes, or does he just...
No, not generally. Not generally. I don't want to get involved in all that. And of course, if you're going to have a theme to an album, then the lyrics need to have, you know, some continuity from song to song.
I mean, do you see your involvement with Pineapple Thief as a long-term investment, or is it, you know, something you're doing at the moment because you're enjoying doing it? Can you see yourself doing this for another few albums?
No, we're just looking for chicks and money.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. It's always a long-term investment. Yeah. You know, you always see. Sometimes, you know, relationships run their course. Porcupine Tree ran its course. You don't know how long a relationship. It might be 2 albums, 3 albums, 10 albums. Mm-hmm. You don't know how long you can keep the interest between the guys before you start thinking, oh, we're just repeating ourselves now. Yeah. This isn't going anywhere. Or someone in the band is unhappy and wants to leave, you know.
Yeah, is that so? That's what happened with Porcupine Tree. Just it run its course, and you all happy to go your separate ways.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I think Steve was, you know, very keen to do a solo career thing. Mm-hmm. Certainly, I think the last tour pretty much killed us because we toured for 14 months, and you can have too much of people. Being in a band is like, or being on tour is like being on Big Brother in a submarine, right? You're spending 24 hours a day with these people, more hours than you'd ever spend with your partner, and you've literally talked about everything you've ever thought of in your life. And, you know, normally a long tour is driven by a record company and management and promoters and agents pushing you to keep going and do more gigs and do more shows and do longer tours. But they never seem to take into account the morale of doing it and going out on a Monday rainy night in Dresden and to a half-empty room and getting a cold and eating a pizza and feeling ill, and, you know, those kind of days end up killing the vibe.
So many bands have said this, you know, Scott Gorham said that about Thin Lizzy. If we'd only had a year off, we'd never have split up. Ian Gillan said that about Deep Purple in the 70s. We would have continued if we'd had that break.
Well, we have had a break. We've had a 9-year break.
Yeah.
And who knows what will happen in the future. But we initially, after our 14-month incident tour, we said, we've got to stop. And Steve said, yeah, I want to do a solo thing anyway. So the stop, it wasn't intentional. It just sort of got longer and longer and longer and longer. We all went off and did other things. I joined King Crimson. Steve was happy doing his solo thing,
Which is going very well as well.
which is going very well. And you know, who knows what might happen in the future? We've never said that's it. We'll never work together again. We never even announced that we've broken up.
No.
So in reality, we haven't split up. We've just spent the last 8.5, 9 years apart. We're all still friends.
Yeah.
It's not out of the question.
Yeah.
But we did learn a massive lesson by doing a tour that was too stressful and too long and too morale beating. You know, I remember playing in Tallahassee to 10 people. And this is when Porcupine Tree were quite big.
Yeah.
We pulled up at a venue.
Fill this venue when you played here last time, yeah.
You know, we were filling lots of venues, but occasionally, through one problem or another, or going to a town that wasn't normally on the route, you know, when you play the States, there's some very safe zones like Boston and Philadelphia and New York and Chicago and Los Angeles and Philadelphia and blah, blah, blah. When you go out of those zones, you might take a chance. You go to Baltimore or you go to South Carolina or Florida. Now, not a lot of bands go to Florida, and it turned out that Porcupine Tree didn't have any popularity in Tallahassee, the capital of Florida. There were 10 people there.
Never again, eh?
Well, no, so we never went back to Tallahassee, but you only need a few nights like that.
Yeah.
And that really, the vibe goes through the floor, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine. You mentioned King Crimson. You've been working with them now for well over 10 years. How did you first get the call to work with King Crimson?
Well, around 2005, 2006, 2007, Robert Fripp opened for Porcupine Tree. He did a soundscape thing, about 20, 30 minutes soundscape.
And of course he played on Fear of a Blank Planet as well, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
So we got to know Robert really well. He did about, I'm going to guess, 50 shows with us. He got to see the band play a lot. And he said to me in 2007, would you consider, when you've got a break in your Porcupine Tree schedule in 2008, would you consider joining King Crimson in a double drummer thing with Pat Mastalotto? And I said, yeah, great. So there wasn't an audition. I mean, he saw me play 50 times.
I couldn't imagine a better endorsement, to be quite honest. Being asked to join King Crimson is the pinnacle of being a drummer, in my view. And I know Neil Peart sort of endorsed you in the past as well, so you must be thinking, my goodness, this is just amazing. From starting off playing the drums in your bedroom when you were a kid to being in one of the great all-time progressive rock bands, it must be quite surreal.
It is surreal, yeah.
And following in the footsteps of Michael Giles and Bill Bruford as well, must have been quite daunting.
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is that I didn't grow up listening to that music. So, for instance, in 2008, Robert Fripp came to my house and he said, here's a list of all the songs I'd like you to learn. And I said, right, Robert, I've got to confess something. I don't have any of your albums. I think I've got a vinyl copy of Three of a Perfect Pair, but I haven't even got a record player anymore. And he said, that's great. I don't want you to learn what the drummers did before. I want you to play every song as if it was new, regardless of when it was written. So learn the song, but don't learn the drum part.
That's fair.
And play whatever you want, arrange the parts with Pat, and I don't want you to copy what the drummers have done before. And he liked the idea that I wasn't familiar with the early or the previous King Crimson material, because he thought, well, you'll come at it with a fresh approach. So I wasn't a King Crimson fan, and I didn't listen to King Crimson or any of the, what's now considered classic progressive bands.
So who were you listening to at that time?
Jazz. I was listening to jazz and American funk music.
That brings such a different element into the rock world as well, though, because it can get very insular. But having people coming with outside influences like funk and jazz. Yeah, I
wasn't listening to Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin or the Beatles. I was listening to American jazz when I was young. When I was a teenager, listening to Earth, Wind and Fire and Larry Graham and kind of,
Graham
funk.
Central Station, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Tom Scott and, real American funk. And that's what I liked. My friends were saying, oh, you should hear Genesis and Pink Floyd. And I was not interested in that at that time.
The drumming seems so lively in those 70s funk bands as well. Such the stuff with Funkadelic and that. It's fantastic to listen to.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. So how was it playing with another drummer on stage? Because you usually play by yourself. Playing with another drummer must be quite strange.
Challenging.
Yes. That's the word I was after.
Well, I mean, the first time was with Pat, of course, and it was very easy with Pat. He's a lovely guy, very nice player, got no ego. It's not a competition. We would discuss parts and say, well, I tell you what, you play that and I'll play this. Oh, no, let's swap round. You do that and I'll do it. There was no kind of, I'll do the lead and you do the support.
Yeah.
It was always a two-way thing. And of course it's now a three-way thing in the more recent version of King Crimson.
Jeremy Stacey.
With Jeremy Stacey, and before him when Bill Riflin started off on drums. So that was actually more tricky to arrange drum parts for three drummers.
I can imagine that being quite a sight to see.
It is quite a sight to see.
That's all that I'll beg from you.
Just in between Pineapple Thief and King Crimson must keep you pretty busy. Have you got anything else bubbling under at the moment? Any other session work or anything?
No, I do get offers, and most of which I've turned down this year because it's really tough being in two bands, the amount of touring we're doing. To keep the momentum up with Pineapple Thief, we've had to start writing the next album already.
Yeah.
Because I'm on two very long tours with King Crimson this year, and then as soon as I come back, within a couple of weeks, I start again with Pineapple Thief. Then we go to the States, and then everyone's going to expect a new album. So in all the downtime that I've got in between tours, we're producing a live album. We're going to re-record 4 songs from the back catalogue and make a new album. So I haven't really got time.
So pretty busy. So
unless something comes along that I just can't resist. But I try not to accept work.
So your tour finishes in Bristol on the 24th. Is that you finished for a few weeks, or do you head off? Yeah, no, I've got 4 weeks not touring, but I will be working in those 4 weeks, working on new King Crimson arrangements, working on the back catalogue songs from Pineapple Thief, and trying to finish and write more songs with Bruce. Then there's some King Crimson rehearsals, followed by another 3 or 4 weeks off, and then there's 7.5 week tour with King Crimson. So you got you're pretty much planned out. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, in this game you end up planning 2 or 3 years in advance. Yeah. So I'm already talking about projects in 2021 and trying to schedule, well, what if we released a record here and then we did a European tour there, and then 2021 let's try and go back to the States again, and then let's go get some festivals in the summer of, Yeah. You've got to plan that far ahead. Gavin, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting. Thank you. Really enjoyed it, and best of luck with the tour. Starts tonight in Newcastle. Thanks very much.